Well, to begin, we have been doing alternative algorithms in class. I wanted to make a video for the parents so that they could understand how to help their children at home. I understand that a lot of you probably haven't done this or haven't learned this, and I just wanted you to have a guide so that you're able to help your kid at home so that they're not constantly coming back to school without their homework done because you didn't understand how to help them. So I want to help you understand how to help them. The first algorithm we're going to go over is breaking up the dividend. This algorithm has been helping students understand division in a different way. It helps them use mental math when doing their division, and it has helped them learn how to do division faster and more proficiency. I will show you guys this one. So let's take 117 divided by 9. So breaking the dividend is a way of we're taking this number and breaking this number up to make it easier for 9 to go into. So let's look at this one. So we could break it up into 117, but 9 isn't going to 100 evenly. So let's do 90. So we're going to take this one and break it up into 90 because we know that 9 can go into 90 evenly. And then we'll take 117 minus 90 equals 27. We also know that 9 goes into 27 evenly. So we're going to take 90 plus 27, which is the same exact thing as 117. So we know that 9 goes into 90 evenly 10 times. And we know that 9 goes into 27 evenly 3 times. So basically we're just adding these ones together, which gives us 13. This makes it a more proficient and easier way for students to break down and use mental math to divide. Because if a student was to take 117 divided by 9, they have to find what 9 goes into 11 how many times. 1 time. That's 9. Gives you 2 left. You break this down, 27. This isn't a completely hard problem, but this doesn't make it where students aren't understanding math the way they should be. Students be able to look at this number and see what they can break it into to make it easier for them to understand, because it's more mental math for them to understand that 9 goes into 90 evenly and 9 goes into 27 evenly, because they don't know right away off the top of their head that 9 goes into 117 27 times. They don't know that 127 or 27 times 9 is 117. It makes it easier for them to break it up and to learn this way. For breaking up the dividend, I'm going to do one more so that you guys can understand, so you're able to help your student. So let's take 112 divided by 4. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this and we're going to break this up to make it easier for 4 to go into, because we don't know what times 4 equals 112. They don't know that. So if we take this, we know that 4 times 25 equals 100. So we're going to bring this down and turn this into 100. And we also know that 4 goes into 12 evenly. So we're going to bring this 12 down. We know that 4 goes into 100 25 times. We already figured that one out. We also know that 4 goes into 12 3 times. So this equals 28. So again, this makes it way easier for students to be able to understand math and be able to break it down, because this one is a little bit harder. This one we're closer to, but we have to figure out how many times is 4 going to 11. We know that 4 goes in 12 3 times, but we can't use 12. So this makes it where it's easier, and they can look at this last number and understand right away, like, hey, I know that 4 times 3 is 12. And they should know that. This is something they will know right away. And this makes it easier, and then they just have to be like, oh, but what does 4 go into 100? How many times does 4 go into 100? And then we can learn that 4 times 25 equals 100. So breaking this up makes it so much easier for students to understand division, and that 28 times 4 equals 112. I'm going to show you is partial differences. We have been doing this in class, and this is really helping the students understand how to break apart a bigger math problem to make it easier for them to do in their head. We take it by hundreds, tens, and ones places. So let's take 354 minus 188. So first thing we're going to do is look at the hundreds places. So we know that this is 300. This is potentially 300. And then this is 100, because we're also looking at this. So we know that the difference between 100 and 300 is 200. So we're going to write 200 right here. So now we're also going to look at the tens place here. So the 50 and 60, or the 50 and 80. We know that between 80 and 50 is 30, but we are taking 5 minus 80, or 50 minus 80. So that's potentially a negative 30. We're going to move along to the ones place. We know that 4 take away 8 is 4 is a smaller number than 8, but we know that there's a difference between 4. So in the ones column, the partial difference for this is 4, but it's going back to a negative 4. So 200, negative 30, and negative 4 is all the partial differences of this number. So then we want to combine these partial differences. So we can take 200 plus negative 30, or 200 minus 30, and we know that is 170. And then we want to take 170 minus the 4. So we know that 170 minus 4 is 166. I'll show you another partial differences problem. So let's take 694 minus 362. So for this one, we're going to work from the hundreds, the tens, and the ones place again like we did before. So when we look at the hundreds place, we know that the difference between 600 and 300 is 300. So the partial difference of 600 and 300 is 300. And then we're going to look at the tens place, which is 90 and 60. And we know the partial difference between 90 and 60 is 30. But unlike the top one where this was a negative, this one is a plus because we got lucky enough that we have a 9, which is bigger than a 6 on the top, where up here we had a 5 and an 8. So we're up here where we subtract, down here we're actually going to add at the end. So then let's look at the ones place, and we know the difference between 4 and 2 is 2, and then again it's a positive 2 because 4 is bigger than 2. So then we're going to add these together. So this would be 332. So 694 minus 362 is 332. Now some pointers for this problem to be able to help your kid at home is that when we are doing this, you need to make sure that you're going by the hundreds, the tens, and the ones place. This definitely makes students understand math better. They can do mental math because we know that there's only that 300 plus 300 is 600, and that gives us this number right here. We know that 60 plus 30 is 90, so that gives us these right here. And then I do know that these ones where we have, it's always lucky, works that way, where it's the bigger numbers on top, it makes it a lot easier and we make sure we add. But if there's a smaller number on the bottom, we're going to subtract. Where this algorithm we're going to do is wishful thinking. This is an algorithm so that students are able to, it's different than the breakdown, the dividend, and partial differences. This is where it's giving kids the option to take a number and wish that it was something else so that it's easier for them to do mental math. So let's take 394 plus 176. So with wishful thinking, we are wishing that the top number and the bottom number are different things. So when we do this, let's take 394. What's that closest to? That's closest to a 400. 400 is an easy number. It has 2 zeros. That's a way easy number to add to. The difference between 400 and 394 is plus 6. So you're adding plus 6 here. So if you're adding 6 at the top, that means you have to subtract 6 at the bottom. So 176 minus 6 is 170. So then we're looking at this number instead of this number. So 400 plus 170, that's super easy. That's so easy because that's 0, 7, and 5. And this makes it where students are able to look at a number, wish that it's something else, and break it down so that they are able to use their mental math to figure this out, because this clicks right away. 0 plus 0 is 0, 7 plus 0 is 7, and 4 plus 1 is 5. That's all mental math. That's all math that they know already. So this visual thinking makes it where it's easier for them to look at a problem and do it a lot faster, because this problem would take a lot longer for them to add than it does for them to add 400 plus 170. I'm going to show another partial differences problem. We are going to take 568 plus 241. So again, with the wishful thinking, we are trying to wish that this number is something else so that we can add easier. The easiest helpful tip is that the easiest way to use wishful thinking is to either round it up to a 5 or the 10th place, like a 0. That seems to be the easiest way for students to understand the concept better. So if there is any way that you can always round this up to either to the next 10s place or down to the 5s place, like that makes it the absolute easiest. So we could take this one and round it up to 570, or round it down to 565, or round it down to even to 560. You could even round it down to 550. You just got to make sure that whatever you're subtracting or adding here, you're doing the opposite to the second one. So let's wish that this one is 565. So we are subtracting 3 up here, which means we need to add 3 down here, so that this one will change to 244. So then we are just adding 565 plus 244. So this is then automatically 9. And we know 6 plus 4 is 10. We know 5 is 6, 7, 8. So then we get 809. This wishful thinking most definitely helps students understand math mentally also, because it's easier for them to break it down, because we could even break it down where we're looking at it by the hundreds, the tens, and the ones place. It's easier for them to wish that this number is something else. Another way to do wishful thinking also is, let's take the same number, 560, 241, let's add that. So let's say that we switch this one to the same what we did before, 500 and 244. So another way to break this down to make it a lot easier, let's say we wish that this number was 500 and this one is 200. So then we can add those two together, so 5, so this equals 700, and then we go by the tens place, so then we have 60 and 40, and we're going to add those together, which then gives us 800, and then we do the ones place, which is 9, so then that gives us the 809 that we were looking at before. That's also another way to do wishful thinking, if that makes it easier for you to understand, so then you're able to teach your child that. That's a way to do it. I know that this makes it easier, especially when we're looking at the hundreds place and the tens place. Zeros are so easy to add by. So that most definitely makes it a lot easier. So I just wanted to run over the 3 things that we just went over. I hope that this video helps you understand how to do these algorithms and how to go home and teach your kids at home. So if they need help, they can get help from you. I just wanted to refresh. Wishful thinking is wishing that a number is something else. So we're wishing that 654 is 650. And then whatever number that we're adding on the bottom, we're wishing it's something else. And remember that the top number, whatever we subtract by, so if we subtract 4 here, means we add 4 on the bottom, or if we add 4 here, we subtract 4 on the bottom. And we always got to remember that whatever we are adding or subtracting here, we do the opposite below, or vice versa. For partial differences, we are doing it by hundreds, tens, and ones place. So we are taking a number and we're breaking it up by the hundreds, the tens, and the ones places, so that we can add it together and use mental math to get our answer. In breaking up the dividend, we are taking a division problem and taking that number, like what we took 117, and we're taking this number and breaking this 117 up, where we took 90 plus 27. With breaking up the dividend, we are taking whatever we are dividing by and making it easier for the number to go into. So even if this was divided by 3, we know that 3 goes into 90 30 times. And we know 3 goes into 27 9 times. We want to break up this number so that it is easier for us to take whatever we are dividing by to make it to go into. So I hope that this video helped out a lot, and I hope that you guys understand how to do wishful thinking, partial differences, and breaking up the dividend so that you're able to help your child at home. Thank you for listening.